The truth has already been revealed as to why the Boston Bruins went out and drafted James Hagens. Apart from the obvious reason of him slipping down to number 7, there are many different reasons that have just came out about James Hagens being the one for the Boston Bruins. We're going to be going over these recent quotes from the Bruins, from James Hagens himself, some very interesting stats a lot of people have not seen, and going over why this pick is the one the Bruins needed. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before we do get into this video, we've been insane on the videos as of late. More than one a day, some days 2, 3. We have a lot more coming. You will not want to miss it. We're currently sitting here at just over 7,000 subscribers. The big goal is 10K. Your sport's been incredible lately, and I appreciate all of you guys. And I know you won't want to miss your Bruins news. We're going to have it here as it comes out. But let's get straight in this here now, going over the multiple reasons that James Hagens has been drafted by this Boston Bruins team. We have quotes from Don Sweeney. We have quotes from James Hagens. We have a whole bunch of new stuff that's come out. And first of all, I want to post something from Scott McLaughlin. Hagens says he wants to play in the NHL as soon as possible, but we'll talk to Bruins management of where to play next season. Now, I think this is one of the first big reasons why the Bruins were very comfortable with taking James Hagens, even if he had dropped through, from 1 to 3 to 7 over this entire season. We knew James Hagens was a guy that was going to eventually get to the NHL. The Bruins are looking for a center as soon as possible. I think James Hagens gave them that little bit of leverage that they can use him this year at the NHL level if needed. Now, this only came out literally moments ago, just before I clicked record here on this video. We saw that Don Sweeney was not going to rush James Hagens. So this is what Don Sweeney said on the topic here. He said there will be no rush to fast-track James. Now, this is a big thing because he admitted a couple days ago that he thought the idea of getting Dean Letourneau into Boston College when he did was not the right idea. He said he should have stayed at the USHL for another year before heading over to Boston College. We saw a very big dip in production. And when I mean big, I mean literally 100-plus point dip for Dean Letourneau going to Boston College. They do not want to do this with James Hagens. Now, James Hagens still very good last year. 37 games played, 37 points. Not the goal-scoring capabilities he wanted to last year, but as I've mentioned in last video last night, the stream last night, I can guarantee you, and you can book me on this, that we're going to see James Hagens 100% have more points than he did this year, and maybe in fewer games. Hopefully he plays all of them, of course, and hopefully I'm thinking he does take this extra year with Boston College to help that development because of how many other players from the Boston Bruins are going to be at Boston College, and we're jumping to that here in a moment. I think that is just absolutely the right fit for James Hagens, and he will be much, much better in this upcoming season. Now, we do have a few quotes, as I mentioned. We're going to pull up our first one right here, going over what James Hagens had to say. He said, I thought this year was really good. You just got to go out there next year and prove everyone that passed on you wrong. And now, I already like James Hagens more than I did originally because of this quote. He knows the whole idea of going out there, proving everybody wrong. That's what I like to see in a guy like James Hagens. Someone who, although may not have had the greatest year, said, yeah, it was a good year, but we had to go out and prove these guys wrong, that I was supposed to be this number 1 overall pick, that I was slated to be, but dropped due to what people thought of my production. This is one thing I absolutely love to see from James Hagens already. We're going to be seeing a lot more, because this is only a couple hours after he was drafted, after that such a long first round of the draft. We've already got more information coming out now. We're going to have the second round later today as well, so you're going to want to stick around for that. Another reason to hit the sub button, but we have to move on as well, because as we would go take a look at James Hagens, we saw it, and this is one thing I've been mentioning for the past week or so, when James Hagens originally dropped down to 8th projection by Craig Button. I believe it was nearly actually a week ago to the day. 3, 4, 4, 3, 3, 5. Look at every ranked projection right there. Apart from Bob McKenzie, Craig Button. They had him 7-8. Those two I trust incredibly, and it goes to show they were the moves. They were the ones to actually go and take a look at, and they were right about what happened. We see these. We see The Athletic. We see some of these more than other credible reporters. I'm not saying none of these guys are credible here, because they all are, but some people have more of an inside ear compared to a lot of people saying that James Hagens was going to drop. And it was a very, very smart decision for the Boston Bruins to keep this pick because we knew the Islanders were going to go and try and get it. Now, as I mentioned, at Boston College this year, next season, we're going to see a couple players. Of course, if James Hagens stays, they have James Hagens, Dean Letourneau, Oscar Jelvik, Andre Gausseau, and Christian Kostadinski. They have a very big group of players who a lot of trust is going to be put into these names over the next few seasons. And I think putting these guys together in college at this level seeing them develop here together, get to the NHL level together, it's going to make a lot more chemistry. It's something that a lot of NHL teams will not have. We know the Bruins are going to want to keep everything kind of local. We know they have done that in the past. We know they like that. And it makes a lot of sense why James Hagens was this guy. And of course, he says that he wants to stay. And this when it comes to another quote from James Hagens that we have here. He says, I wanted to be in a good spot. I'm so lucky to end up with being in the Boston Bruins. It's the best spot in the world. Although he's from Long Island, said he wanted to go to the Islanders. No, we're not going to touch on that. That could be a lie. But it's the best spot in the world. I had no idea where I was going to end up. So I'm grateful that I ended up in Boston. I am a Bruin. I am not leaving the Boston area. He is saying all the right stuff here, ladies and gentlemen, to make us excited about his tenure. We're excited for him. He's excited to be here. And I think that coming back into this and going through his whole, week or so of the projections of where he's been from going from number 1 to 2 or 3 to 4, now down to 7. He was a guy that we got really lucky with. And I'm willing to say that. We got the 5th overall pick when it comes to before the draft lottery, moved down to 7. Kind of went out of all the top targets, but James Hagens fell right into our lap. Now, this is one thing I think a lot of people were worrying about, and we got a very good look here from James Hagens of what he had to say at this draft, draft day, draft night after the interviews. He says he has put on some muscle already and is up to 190 pounds. He was listed, and I'll come back to here, at 177 at 5'11". 5'11", I'll call it 6 foot. We're willing to round up here. 6 foot, 5'11", 190 pounds is already a much better look. And that's already after 1 year at Boston College. We're expecting that to grow maybe even another 5-10 pounds. Get up to 200 pounds or keep it around the 190. That is the type of guy that is going to be able to use his abilities, which he has, which a lot of people criticized him on for not being able to use that strength that he didn't have. He has that now. He's going to have that, and he's going to be ready to use it on this Boston Bruins team. We do have another quote here, coming out here this time from Boston.com. Connor Ryan, a new article, very, very good one to go through. He said it wasn't a particularly difficult decision to make Hagens a number 1 on the preseason list. One NHL team head scout told Bob McKenzie of TSN. So once again, not just kind of going over the fact that he wasn't number 1. They felt comfortable putting him at number 1, and that was obviously for a good reason. And going back as well to his stats, you see what he did in the USHL with the development program: 47 points in 26 games, 40 in the year before in 31 games. He's a guy that's been very consistent, and even though people are calling it a down year, he was still a point per game at Boston College. That's not nothing. That is a guy that is ready to get to the NHL level, but still can get better before he does. And that's exactly what we're hoping to see and knowing we're going to see from James Hagens. Now, they also put out the NHL Network on Twitter. They were putting out after every draft pick their comparison for the player drafted. Majority everybody. James Hagens was compared to Clayton Keller. Smaller guy. We see Clayton Keller, not the biggest guy, but has gained some weight over the past few years to put on some muscle. Exactly what James Hagens is looking to do. This is a very similar comparison that I absolutely love to see, and I think this is one that a lot of people really need to take a close look at, because these two have an eerily similar game, and one that we're going to see even get better and better over the next few seasons. Now, we do have a few more updates here. One final screenshot before we do go to our last quote here. Connor Ryan asked James Hagens about what Bruins fans can expect from him on the ice. A player that has a really good hockey IQ, loves to skate with the puck, is an exciting player to watch, someone that will put his heart and soul on the line and give his all to the team. If I didn't see a better hockey quote from a player just drafted, I don't know what it is. This is what we want to see. This is the cut of a Boston Bruin, and I am so excited and honestly honored to have James Hagens right now as a Boston Bruins after this draft. We do have one more quote here before we finish the video off from Boston.com. Connor Ryan, a very interesting once again, at Boston College. He had stretches this season where he was hard to even notice at times at even strength. Had too many games where he was invisible. The Athletics' Corey Pronman wrote of Hagens last month. He struggled consistency to get inside against bigger college defenders. He also struggled to score goals this season. Barely 5'11", and without a physical edge, his profile becomes harder to project as a top-line center in the NHL who can win with. His compete level is decent and looked good at the World Juniors, but I couldn't call it a standout trait. Now, you see there, calling him barely 5'11", calling him, not a physical edge. That is already starting to change by adding that muscle, going up to 190. We like to round up. The boys like to round up. We'll call him 6 foot, barely 5'11", but that's fun. 6 foot. 6 foot 190. What a player the Bruins have gotten here already. Has committed to the grind, has committed to the NHL game. And as we mentioned here, I think the big thing that really kind of trumps everybody else here in this draft is, first of all, he's put 100. He didn't put on 190 pounds. He's up to 190. He's going to be doing that, and as well as doing this, he is willing to get to the NHL as soon as possible. But as we mentioned, we know that there's going to be no fast tracks for this because Don Sweeney wants to make sure they get it right with James Hagens. He is the center of the future for the Boston Bruins, and I want to know what you guys think right now about this draft pick, because we have a lot of stuff coming. We can only think about this for a little few more hours here during this morning before we get to rounds 2 through 7. Hopefully it won't take as long, but we have some very interesting picks here throughout the rest of this draft we're going to be covering here on the channel. You will not want to miss it. That's all I got in this video. If you did enjoy, give it a like, hit the sub button as well. I'm signing out, though. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.